Welcome to Thriving in Abundant Talk. Of course, today, silapha kwi-series or i-segment yethu ye-Woman Thrive. Namhlanje ke ngibashelo siso serious. Ofaka make me nice. Igama lakhe Njabulo Sithole, intokazi yalapha ya eMbali, intokazi yalapha ya eMbali 13 sawubona.
Hey, yeah, sawubona.
Unjani Ntombi?
Ngiyaphila unjani?
I'm good, always well. Umnandi ke balaleli bami uma uzoxoxisana nje nomuntu nokhomazi who you do not necessarily need to be always peeping on i-profile ufuna ukuyikhumbuza lapha nalapha ya siqala ke i-Women's Month in South Africa. Sibonge kakhulu nje kubona bonke omama baseningizimu Afrika isikakhulukazi kuleza ingqalabutho ezagijima ngo1956 ziyolwela amalungelo abantu besifazane. Sisekhona lapho ke nje mhlawumbe umuntu akavule ngomkhuleko just to welcome the Holy Spirit. Baba siyabonga uNkulunkulu oyingcwele namhlanje siyakwamukela, and we're so grateful, Spirit of the living God, ukuthi ukhona uyaphila phakathi kwethu. We thank you, Father, for the gift of the Holy Spirit, who is indeed our helper, our teacher, our comforter, our friend, our advocate, our counselor. Umoya ingcwele uyiyona yonke into kuthina. Siyabonga ithuba lokuthi siphinde size lapha sizolekelela ukuba sikhuthaze, especially young men and young women, specifically for the Women Thrive series, ukuthi noma ngabe ukuphi njengamanje kodwa ikusasa lakho liqhakazile, as long as you indeed allow the Holy Spirit to be your helper and friend. Ikusasa lakho liqhakazile. We welcome you in this place. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, Miss NP.
Ngiyahleka nje.
Uhleka.
Ngiyahleka nje njengoba ngiyilana.
Yeah. Ukhumbulana.
Hey, yeah.
Manning my memories, and of course, if you've just joined us, welcome to Thriving in Abundance Talk. Lenage, a Woman Thrive series. Lapho ke si profile akona omama abenza kahle abayisibonelo esihle emphakathini. Namhlanje ke nginiphathele yona lentokazi yakwaJobe kaMapitha, intokazi yalapha ya eMgungundlovu. Yeah, manje yazi mina phela ngihlangana nawe lapha sesi University of Zululand. Ngiyazi ukuthi ukade use St Francis College, yeah. Kodwa ngifuna siphindele emuva lapha ka first year.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Yeah, you really taking me back, and it's amazing being in this journey of life that we hardly take time just to reflect on the journey that the Lord has afforded us to be where we are now. And first year, and sasimbizo also first year, so we are buying into manje. I'll call that segment of my life maybe what should I say? I don't know. It's normally used, but the power of education. And I'm calling it the power of education because thinking about my journey and the role that my parents played in as far as education is concerned. Ungena kwami eskoleni. Just backtracking a little bit, my parents, don't really come from an affluent family, if I, could put it that way. They faced a lot of hardship growing up, and I think in their minds they wanted to ensure that their kids don't go through the same. So that's why I'm calling it the power of education, because in their minds it was clear that they wanted their kids to have education and go as far as possible. get the opportunities that they were never able to attain during their upbringing or their time. Mina ngangena ka first year ngephutha.
Ake silizwe udaba lwephutha.
Ngangena first year ngephutha because I was following my brother.
Okay.
Apparently I used to follow my brother
Everywhere.
everywhere. Wherever he went, I'll follow my brother. We even have a picture where yakhumbula lama bicycle lawa ayine two-seater.
Yes.
Yeah. So we even have a picture yale two-seater. Him driving.
Yeah, driver la.
Yeah.
Passenger.
Yeah. So when it was time for him to start formal education, I think I was left with this gap, this loneliness of now not having this company. So I followed him to school. So the first part of the term of my schooling, I was not registered because I was following this one. So instead of being in sub A, I was in sub B with him. They allowed it because at the time you will remember that in as much as education was formal, but it was located. Yes, and also it was located in missionaries, churches. So there's no way that you could turn back a child. So there was formal education, but there's also that humanity of understanding and being, kind and empathetic towards the needs of the community at the time. So ngahlala ka sub B, wazwathi omunye uthisha lingekihlaleleni lana. And then I joined sub A ngo term 2.
Oh.
Yes. And I was 5 years old. And formally, you are not supposed to be at school.
Yes.
I was supposed to start my formal education at the age of 5 years. So I couldn't wait because I was following my brother. So that impatience, but also that relationship that I had with my brother, it landed me in sub A. So I attended sub A for the rest of the second term, and unexpected to everyone. How? What passed? Because I wanted to write just like everyone else, and when there's homework, I wanted to do homework. Ngapasa.
Okay.
I said to her, okay, so
all right.
So that's how I started. So it goes back to what I said about the power of education.
Yeah.
It started off like that. And then not to end there, because you raised a question about where it started and as far as education. Then my higher primary, it was all Catholic schools. So from there, Isaiah Henryville, which is also a Catholic school, and then Escodini, which is also another Catholic school.
Okay, all right. So it's interesting, actually. I know what you were saying about the missionaries and all of that, but I mean, I'm hearing you also now mentioning that it was a Catholic sort of foundation. Did it have an impact on the person that you have become as an adult? Ukuthola lezo mfundiso zase Catholic as early as that time.
Definitely. It had an impact. Catholic missionaries, if I can put it that way, you will remember that most of the nuns they were missionaries anyway, because they were of German descent. The type of characters that is known of Germans is discipline and being strict. So being in those establishments, I think it instilled that. It instilled being organized, being disciplined. There were things that were frowned upon, right? From that early age, that you were taught that this is what is right and this is what is wrong, and and you knew the consequences of doing what is wrong, because they were very strict, and they will demonstrate the consequences, so that it's embedded in your mind that you cannot go beyond these boundaries. Hence, this is the direction that you're going to take. It had a lot of impact. And also the type of education that we had, and even though, people would say generally, as you will all know, during those times, it was Bantu education. But there was an element of a different curriculum that we taught, a different structure that they had. And it gave us an opportunity to really learn different learning strategies, right, from that early age. For instance, the way the structure is early in the mornings, it's generally there'll be assembly, but there'll be time in the morning where you just keep quiet, and reflect about yourself. Do not allow noise from the outside to infiltrate you. Give yourself time to reflect, and we hardly do that. And you see now, with the advent of personal development and all of that, people say that give yourself time to reflect. But the nuns at the time instilled that in us, that you need at a certain point in your life to switch off all the noises and just reflect. So that had a lot of impact in me, and I think till this day, I do give myself time in the mornings just to meditate. Now we're calling it meditation, to meditate. So that structure started from then. And I think because of how they taught us, maybe I strive in an environment where there's structure. Being young as I was faced with, a lot of people were domineering, especially, you are young and all of that. People will tend to undermine you and dominate you in a way. So those years were also my sanctuary, because I found, I was in a safe place from a point of view of when it came to the academics. I was able to excel because of the structure that they had in time, and the attention that each and every child would be given in order to reach the maximum potential. So whilst this was happening, I found that there's also the power of, how should I put it, that in as much as education is powerful as a tool, but education is also a gateway to your identity. Because during those days, I found myself, and I found myself through education, through the academics. People nowadays would say, "Usafunda namanje." They don't know that it stems from then. It's part of my identity. I found it at a very early stage in my life to discover that, oh wow, I'm finding my voice through writing, because I don't talk a lot. I find my voice through listening, and I find myself through, academics, because through academics, that's where I can demonstrate that which I cannot do in other settings where you have people who are domineering.
Where dominator. And no, the other word is my extroverts. But anyway, that's good. I think I like that. Good to from early on. I think the power of silence, being able to meditate. But I mean, I think the overriding principle there is that ngempela ukuthola your seed yemfundo understand futhi ukuthi kubaleke ngani, that in those early years I think it contributed a lot to the person that you have since become. And of course how so register futhi. Fast forward to St. Francis College. Siyabuya ke manje. Ngiyafisa ukwazi ukuthi njengoba nje ukhala ngabantu aba-dominant noma you've got a domineering spirit, ukuthi ingabi ikolishi ke la kuphatha kanjani?
I think that segment of my life, moving on, it was, I'll say, mainly about overcoming challenges. Because St. Francis was really, really, really challenging for me. You excelling ngagini, you know?
But
top 3 nathi siya excella ngakithi.
Yeah.
So it was that melting pot of learners from different backgrounds, different academic potential. So it was really challenging, and I found myself drowning in St. Francis, such that I always, when I reflect about St. Francis, and people who know me from St. Francis College, they will know me as a very reserved child, because I think my self-esteem there was very low, There were a lot of factors that may have contributed towards that, apart from the fact that you were young, and as I indicated earlier, I also happen to be a soft-spoken person, and I think as a society sometimes we equate being soft-spoken to weakness, and at St. Francis College, those kids will take advantage of you because I think there's a difference, and reflecting on that, it's almost as if as a society we have to understand that there are, what they call contradictions or dichotomies, in a sense that there's good and evil, there's right and wrong. Those are dichotomies, and sometimes they do exist, simultaneously. So in my case, I have always known that I know myself, I'm a firm person, but it doesn't equate to a weakness. So it's a society where we need to understand that I can be soft-spoken but firm. It's different now because we even have role models like this. I mean, you think of Othuli Madonsela. She's soft-spoken but firm. So there's no way that you can equate her soft-spokenness to being weak. You have Obonkosazana Dlamini Zuma, soft-spoken but firm. So now we have those examples, but at the time we didn't have that. And that's why I'm saying that I had to overcome challenges, but part of overcoming that challenge was to accept that I am a soft-spoken person, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm weak.
All right. What was exciting?
Oh, yes.
Exciting.
There was a lot that was exciting. Look, everything was structured there. Your social life is structured.
Yeah.
There was what's called amandondo, which indoor games.
Yeah.
And indoor games, you will have a snippet, just a snippet of, a relationship with your counterpart, the male, just a snippet. So you will be allowed to choose a partner, and you have this social event where yourself and the partner will be allowed to dress up.
Hola.
And have fun.
Yes.
What maybe nowadays kuthiwa ilokuza like my prom so we had indoor games there. We will have moments where kuba nama movies, but most importantly I think most of my friends, even now, are friends from St. Francis College. So you had kids from different backgrounds, and St. Francis College sahlangana sonke, and that cemented those relationships. And I cannot, talk enough or emphasize enough the value that I gained from being at St. Francis College from a social point of view.
Yeah. Bengizoba ne-clubs uba.
Bengizoba
ne-clubs.
You see, now it goes back to that introvert extrovert thing, because I never went to Club Zubaba.
I didn't go to St. Francis College, but it was my highlights, my conversations. Club Zubaba.
And I think about the Club Zubaba bedoja ngithi.
So angithi mina yazi ngizobe ngikuleyo group yabadojile leyo dance. All right, that's amazing. And I think what is actually also quite nice is that the people that you met there, you are still friends with. So you value my relationships even from that time. And then fast forward to the University of Zululand. Yeah.
Sure. Zululand. If it is Zululand, guys, if you go to Shambe, Isailand, I would have said that for every child to get to know, the nitty-gritties of life. Maybe 1 year at Zululand will open up your eyes. Because I think for me, it really opened my eyes.
Yes.
I don't know. Well, I did attend other institutions after that.
Yes.
But I think Zululand was such an eye-opener for me. Okay. So you are in this institution, and of course, you're coming from this controlled environment. Which is why I want to go back to the question, you alluded to earlier on about what did I learn from St. Francis. So some of the lessons from St. Francis I was able to apply at Zululand. That structure I had at St. Francis helped me a lot in Zululand. Zululand was you're on your own. It's a jungle, and if you didn't have structure, it's easy. And it's quite low, but it's a semester. Uyabo kwakunalelo tem and mawufika usatshiswa ngaleyo nto ukuthi ombheke lona sobona uzodliwa isemester. So there's also that fear ukuthi khona lento edlanayo khona lento edlanayo ekuthiwa isemester. That's one, the academics, but two, the social life. Udliwa ama academics because you allowed your social life ukuthi
you overindulged.
Social life ukuthi kudle.
Yes.
So nansi lokho kuthiwa semzane ne nakhe emzane nakhe bidding apha. It's the best of both worlds.
Yes.
It's up to you which one you choose.
So spend a
esiningi. And and ngempela structure helped me there, because what I used to do, was okay, extend before near eskoleni from 5 to 6 niyafunda study, and then 6 o'clock near sondweni. Okay, and then after 6 niyabuya niyadla, and then bese ngiqala ama class. But then when you come back futhi niyageza leso structure nje niyageza, and then mase ngiqedile because ni study, I had to apply the same structure for my own sanity.
Yes.
Would see after our lectures, ngizohamba ngiye e dining hall ngidle na wonke umuntu, but 6 o'clock fanele ngibe se library. It helped me a lot.
Some of us struggled.
But there was a lot, because also coming back to this identity, because those are the years when you are forming your own identity. identity as a young a female being exposed to after Imeran Hill.
Yes.
After Imeran Hill. But again, your identity as far as your career is concerned. That was also crucial for me. And I remember choice subjects, it was not necessarily what I would have wanted to do. Like I said,
it's interesting. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was going to be my next question. So how did you end up choosing the cause that you chose, because I mean, subsequently I've come to understand that you have a thing for numbers, yet the cause that you did, I think Ongoye was gravitating more towards education.
I mean, you said this program, there's somebody out there who is listening, and I want to emphasize that the importance of the fit between environment and your strengths.
Yeah.
So when I was in Meran Hill, I didn't get that fit. I really didn't think that, in terms of my natural strengths, I flourished, because I think it was overshadowed a lot by self-esteem issues. So from there, it was a progression of that. I didn't really want to do be paid, but be paid. And I remember I had said to my mom, maybe I need to register law. What unga go linge, uye lapho kolukuza go law. Because I think naye you wanted something safe. And this law thing, nakona, when we went for La Pipe Uzulu, Koni in Kanjan, and that fear, I took it with me. Maybe I'm not good enough. I'm not capable. So ngagcina ngenzo kwenzo, but ngiyenza lento, ngenza lama subjects okufundisa. Ngiyizwa lento ukuthi angizwa kahle hle. So I did my first year. Second year, sihamba nje, siho attend nan. Angizwa lento. And then there's this guy, you probably know him. Angifuna ukuya kuma details, but wayemuntu wawudu yini ngambe igama lakhe.
Yeah.
So
yes.
So angibuza umbuzo bese ngiyawuphendula athi ngizokubamba nge-psychology. I'm like avelela umdingidi lapha. Kids, what do you mean by that? Athi awayazi psychology? Ngithi mina no ngiyayazi in no, okay. Yeah, khona lento nan. So I took up psychology in my second year out of curiosity. If lenti bamba abantu ngifuna ukwazi sibabamba kanjani abantu uyabo. Then ngaya in this big lecture hall, one of the biggest lecture halls. It's full lana kukulo kuza. Yes. Yeah. So already I'm in my second year. Yeah. But I found it very interesting, and in statistics, and I did well with statistics, and I said, okay, then we continue with this thing. But I couldn't, because my third year I was supposed to do my methods.
Yes.
Yeah, but so
you
such
had already
that
chosen the
I'm a
major. Oh, okay.
So which means that in my last year, fourth year, it's unheard of. Yeah, but I had to do second year and third year.
Oh,
Kanye.
So you combined both.
Admin kuthiwa ayenziwa lento. You need to pass the second year.
Yeah.
Before ufike sibone ukuthi uyakhopha ka second year.
Yes.
Kuyima uya kuza ka third year.
Yeah.
Kayenza kanye.
Wow.
Nakhona I had to get special approval.
Yes,
can I do this? Because I was sure ukuthi nje angibuyeli. Ngiyokwenza odonsa umlenze owodwa. Kwangesiwona umlenze anyway. But it meant ukuthi fanele ngibuyele ngiyokwenza third year phela. And I had set nje ukuthi nje no mina nje ngiqhubeka ne-honors yaka psychology. So this has to happen. So I got special approval for that. And I think it's testament to, if you know, it's a match between your natural strengths. I think I'll term this phase of my life finding my natural strengths. Because fast forward, then I wanted to do my honors, but my mother was like, okay, it's not your turn anymore, it's your brother's turn now, so you just need to go and work. So wangifunela nomsebenzi mina ngezwe ngayo ukuthi wahlangana nje no principal elokuzana Pick and Pay wathi nje nginayo uthisha wakhe xoxa yazi angazi ngifuna uthisha wathi hayi nginaye mina athi una uzofika kusasa esikoleni
bazali. Shout out to you lapho Mama Sithole.
Yo, and then I found myself singing fundisa. So I couldn't do honors because I wanted to do honors, but because I was working, I had to do something part-time. And what was aligned to psychology this time was B.Ed psychology. So I ended up doing B.Ed psychology Lukuzanen. Yeah, Emarisbek Lukuzanen, KZN, which was another culture shock.
So what did you find most exciting at Unizol besides the sisibindi sakho? Just by then, I think the introverted part of you was no longer that introverted when you were able to actually go and argue your point. I mean, actually, I also didn't know what you had to do amakozo mabili to level 2 and 3, but I think it was already, testament of the fact that we are going to push into more believe. Would you say that's how you felt at the time?
Yes, because the quality of being introverted, you can be firm and introverted, and you can be outspoken and introverted. It's just that there's a time where maybe the social stimulation becomes too much and you just want to be on your own. But again, to that point,
yes,
I had to write. You know, so I had to motivate. Yes, so which tapped into your written communication skills. Yes, right. Written communication. Okay, motivate. Why? You know, we should allow you to do this. You know. So.
Okay. So also when social ngapha eUnisol also ibeka njengomuntu ongazi uthiwa emzana library kuma lecture hall. So asam social omncane social.
Social was limited, Zot. It was very limited when I hear about other people's stories, because we do compare our stories and like, kwenzeka nini lokho, you know, like abantu bethi ngeweekend bese egoli
besolund
kanjani
besemduma
you know kithi kanjani, you know, Saturday morning uthothi ekseni uyahamba uye library kuthiwa hayi bekusesikhwawini kwenziwani elukhuzeni esikhawini, you know. Yes. So even though I had a social life, yes, and I did have a relationship elukhuzeni, but I think it was very confined. Yes. It was very limited. I never really got the exposure that maybe, you know, could have made me more
overstimulated. So I asked this question because I think it's important for a young lady, a young gentleman out there listening, watching us, to understand what no, you can actually have everything got within our boundaries.
Yeah.
Like awudingi ukuthi ube khona yonke indawo la abanye behamba khona. You also, it's important to know ukuthi this is what you want to achieve. This is what you are here for. But most importantly, this is your character and your personality. Zikhona ezinye izinto mhlambe ezingathi they come naturally kwabanye abantu, but it maybe not necessarily to you, especially if umuntu othanda ukuthi abeyathi ukuthi reflect. You know,
so it's an important point, Losho would see during those stages there's a lot of exposure. And it requires really at times to step back and you ask yourself, why am I here? What are my goals? It does require a certain level of goal setting. Some people would write down their goals, and well, research shows that if you write it down, you know, it becomes embedded in your psyche, and whatever that actions that you take, they seem to match the goals that you have set out for yourself. Whereas if you don't, it's easy to land anyway, you know. So it was clear in my mind, but also my background as well, because I remember I was conscious of the fact that kuthathwe imali yokugcina la kathiwa hamba uyofunda uyabo. Such that I think in the first year, engakadumi Engelbrecht. I think I was amongst the first who got Engelbrecht. Uyamkhumbula Engelbrecht weneza namabhasari. So kwathi kuba nama-cues amaningi kugcwala ka-Engelbrecht. Mina ngase ngiyitholile ibhasari ka-Engelbrecht because I think the first term ngaya ku-Engelbrecht wathi uzolukhu because ekhaya bakhulwanga ngibatshela ukuthi i-second time abasizuyikhokhela. So now having been through that where you know ukuthi uthathwe imali yokugcina, it was important to me ukuthi ngingabaphoqi abazali. So I was in terms of my social life, it was really confined. Not that I didn't have fun, but again, if fun yayihambisana no
responsibility.
Yes,
but to a certain extent.
I also want to say the point. If I hamsana ne inyembezi zakwini, I ain't sure. And do you know? And I remember Kanyo, you know, okay, sizohamba siye lukuza somewhere nan. And ukuthi silokhu siye lapho lokhu somewhere uKhanyo kept on saying ukuthi usho masufuna sihambe
masufuna sigoduke
usho masufuna sigoduke
uyabo. So you don't want that makuyo groove so kwaqona khona mhlambe ngempela mawunqena uvela usale. All right, so I think the most important point for me there kumlaleli wami osamusha lapha osetertiary njengamanje ukuqonda nesimo sasekhaya, ngoba uzofika lapha ufike siqhamuka emndenini engafani nezimo zasemakhaya ayifani. So ungathi mawusuba ne-exposure lapha ubona abantu behave ngendlela ethi ucabanga ukuthi nawe uzokwenza, you must always remember ukuthi la uphuma khona isimo sithini, so that yonke into uyenze within limits. Sidlule sibe se-UKZN wenze honors ke manje.
Yeah, UKZN was a culture shock as well. And I remember probably my first assignment. Now, I did well eLukuzaneni. I think I was just finding myself eLukuzaneni Zulu, and I was getting back to the type of grades I used to get at primary school. But it happened at a later stage. But UKZN, my identity was maturing, in terms of defining it. And I could feel that I have that sense of who am I and what exactly I wanted from life. So I remember our first assignment. It was a shock. It's all negative, ban. It was a shock. Where is this coming from now? Ngabiza ulukhus, not ngambiza ngaya ku Cassius Lubisi. Cassius Lubisi, he was a political activist, and UKZN, it was one of those lecturers owaziyo nje ukuthi when you need something, go to Cassius. Could be in as far as Ipasari, anything that's got to do with racism and whatsoever. So Cassius is Cassius. Kwenzeke lento. No. I'm going to coach you. So you need people along the way who's going to guide you. And he was very kind, and he was very patient, and he was very understanding, you know. And he took it upon himself, would say, after our class, we are sees again, we'll dissect the assignment, I think probably one coacher maybe Ganye. And then the second assignment, I couldn't believe it myself. Plus ban. Oh yeah, and I will always be grateful to him for that, you know. And njalo ngimbona, I ngihlala ngimjonge say cash wasisiza lokhuze because I think gratitude is so important.
Yes,
But kwesikhathi mhlambe sisithi into encane, but you know, he took me to another level because lab critical thinking I learned it from him. Dissect nje ilokhuza assignment from different angles, different opinion, different perspectives, you know, nje consolidate information, would say this is an assignment, and ibenaleo depth. I got that from him, and it's one of the skills that I use now, because you know, wherever I go in as far as education is concerned, you need to be a critical thinker.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to you, Brakes. For na wonke umuntu wamsiza lapha UNP.
Yes, kwakuse UNP.
All right, and then bese uyadlula ke wenze ne master's program.
Oh, okay. Gosh. Yeah, how can I forget this? Because okay, ngiyenza it then. And again, my confidence level we're not that high. I think mhlawumbe nami maybe I'm my own worst enemy, because mhlawumbe ngibelievela kakhulu lento of intellectual humility, even though ubone ukuthi you are thriving, but ube nalo humility, you know. And there was another professor there, Professor Tehas, and it was towards the end of our program, and she was like, "Oh, so you're gonna apply for masters?" Me, I'm gonna apply for masters. What do you mean? And she's like, "Yeah, I think you're capable. Apply." I'm like, and I went to Kes again. And I'm like, "Kes, to Jiki and apply." Like, no. I'll help you with the application process, with the motivation. And we did that, but he also advised me, "Uguti, ang apply you case and I must also apply in a CVT." So I applied as a CVT, and I ended up having this dilemma. Uguti, saying asatwing in there was too. And when I was doing during mass selection process, even though I doubted myself, but again, it was also a process of finding your natural strengths, because another lecturer said, "But she's so young, and I believe that psychology is for the matured. You must have scars to show for you to be a psychologist." And Jackie was like, "No, it's a training."
And how old are you by this time?
Guys, I must have been 21.
Okay, so now you were young.
Yeah, I was probably 21 at that time, because I remember I finished my degree before the 21st birthday. So one thing Jackie afterwards, and then she says, what convinced her was, so there was this counseling simulation. So as part of the selection process, besides your academic and all of that, they'll give you a case, and there'll be a simulation through a one-way mirror. So, and then they'll get any student who will come with the case. So Uti, you know what convinced me? It was not necessarily how you manage the case, because of course, you know, you are a student in training, you're still applying, so you don't know the principles as such. But we're not looking for that, we're looking for potential. But what we saw in you said, when you sat down, I just said to me, that's a psychologist. But not only that, when you started talking, your listening skills, I then said, that's a psychologist. You know, this is the time where my soft-spokenness helped me. Because she said, you were with the client. It was not about you. And years later, I remember, I mean, I know I'm jumping around. But I just want to emphasize this point. I remember yesterday, I'm still in private practice now. And then I will have a locum who will come in maybe on a Saturday when I'm not well. On Monday, my clients used to come back and they will say, but I will say, but you were here on Saturday for counseling. And then they'd say, hey, it's well fun. Whatever that means. And this is the time where you're beginning to fall in love with your own natural strengths now. That there is that element of now accepting, your own natural strength in spite of what is popular. Loudness is very popular. And people are loud at times, the society glorifies them in terms of the things that they say, and this is the time where I felt this is the profession, that actually accentuates my natural capabilities. And then the rest is history. So, I did my educational counseling there, but because I'd taken the stream of B.Ed and all of that, but I wasn't satisfied with it because I'd seen other streams. There was research psychology, there's clinical psychology, counseling psychology. But then what was important there, I made a conscious decision that I want 2 qualifications. I want to be both educational and counseling because, again, being influenced by Jackie DeHaas. Jackie DeHaas was like, the world that you're living in, there's a certain percentage that needs clinical psychology. Of course, it's got a role, but the future of psychology is positive psychology. It's people like you and I, that we can help from getting to a stage where they're already damaged. So it's more about preventative psychology, which is about teaching people about psychological skills rather than curing, or the disease model where you are treating people when they're already suffering with certain psychological illnesses. And that resonated with me a lot, especially because I enjoy working with the youth. And if there's a psychology, part of it where we can help people with the skill, I said, this is where I want to be. So I made a conscious decision, and I think it's important for somebody who's listening there that sometimes, when listening to my journey, there are certain decisions that I took because of advice from other people, but also there was a time where I took conscious decisions, that this is what I want. I'm being intentional about it. So after that, I went to PE. PE was very intentional, so I was doing a second internship now, counseling internship. So I was based at PE Technikon, which is amalgamated with the University of PE. I thrived there, and I used to have the longest queue. And there'll be other psychologists, but they'll say, "Sifunu kuya pa," and I became famous for, kukhona ukuthi ama results ethu aka matric. They were not so good, and it was easy for my institutions to turn students away. But then I'd say, let me use psychology for that, and then I'll do psychometric tests. It was my initiative, of course. I'll have my results being under the supervision or the head of department. So I'll do psychometric tests, and I say this child can be admitted. And I'll go to head of departments and motivate for the kids, and I say, yes, he failed matric, and of course, maybe he shouldn't be accepted, or maybe amamaksak are low, but here's a psychometric test. It is telling us the potential. Let us take him on the basis of potential. So I had this longest queue. Eat. And the closer speaking in Cape Town, and at the time, what do you mean unechala laga tepsa?
I'm so paka.
Unechala laga tepsa. No, uneloni laga tepsa. So I enjoyed PE a lot because again it's a space where it accentuated my identity as well in terms of my natural strengths and what the environment requires. So there's a good match for that.
All right. It's important to know your natural strengths so that you can be intentional about the path that you take. Now, ngifuna ngesibiyelele manje ke la ukuthi usufika kanjani ukubane u-CEO of an investment company. Kade consulta lapha ya kukuhle ama patients akho or ama customers akho ejabulile kukuhle konke kungonakele lutho, and then phatha when you're taking a decision ukuthi ay usuyashintsha uyongena ebhizinisini. What does it take to be able to actually make those kind of decisions when you are enjoying what you're doing?
Again, I think in this journey of life, you meet so many people who have an impact in your life. You know how it started, and you're one of them. You're using this platform for women to have a voice, to inspire for women to be seen. And I think that's very important. And I think at the time, you may not have been aware of it, but there was that space as well, you know, where you were passionate about the empowerment of women and getting women into the mainstream. Hence, Sakala Lendo Stokfella, and then it evolved into, you know, something else. Now, coming back to me, I read Robert Kiyosaki some years back, you know, those books that were famous, like Stephen Covey, Start With an End in Mind, and all of that. So there was a sentence that got stuck in my mind, which was, you need to make money work for you. So I look at where I was at the time, in as much as I was enjoying what I was doing, but money was not working for me. In a sense that if I'm sick, money cannot work for me. Kukhona insurance policies and so on and so on. You know, when you're sick, we have cover. None. But that was not the type of business that I was aspiring to have. I wanted an empire, a bigger business, you know, where you could have different divisions, and those different divisions, you have different resources that that can enable you to generate income, and by generating income, you have shareholders, and then, you know, we are able to distribute, and something that becomes sustainable. So I had, you know, started learning a lot about business, and I felt at a small scale, sole proprietorship, it's not going to help me to see the ends, you know, in as far as my goals are concerned. So I then decided, slowly, it was a progression, as you will remember. It was a progression. We started by laying a foundation, which is very important for entrepreneurship, you know, that there's a statistic that most of small businesses or new businesses, 90%, which is a very frightening statistic. 90% during the first year do not succeed, and of course there are various reasons for that. And one of them, you know, some people they employ too quickly, not understanding the markets, access to markets, capital, you know, raising, and all of that. So all of these are important factors, you know, for starting, but just having a clear business of where exactly what you want to do, and doing the proper research in the markets of where we want to go. So I think what we had decided at the time is that we're not going to employ right away. Okay, we're just going to have one person who's going to take different roles. So you remember, even when you see my CV, there was a time when I was doing half practice and half Omame, you know, up until we got to it. So it was progressive. So up until it got to a stage where we could say, okay, this is a formal business, there's now a contract, it can sustain one person. And then I then moved over to start managing Omame, and then I was followed by other people who were also shareholders as well. OGU became my first PA.
Okay.
You remember that?
Perhaps for the benefit of Mbugo, just briefly explain to us what's Ubani Omame Investments.
Oh, Omame Investments. I smile when I talk about this because I think it's one of the most successful black female-owned companies in the country. One of the most. I'm not saying it's the, but it's one of the most. Omame Investment is made out of. When it started, it had about 20 women. It has 20 bus. But again, I mean, just like any business, we needed to have a strategy in terms of where we wanted to go. And we wanted to formalize our strategy. So we organized a strategic session, and that strategic session wanted to ensure that we have everyone that will have a common goal. So we said, okay, abafuna ukuhamba nathi abakhokho 5,000. Yo, khona bangangikhulumisi kuze kube manje. I'm telling you.
Polan.
Ubani uthi akhokho 5,000. So that's how Omame, you know, the second phase of Omame, because there was a informal phase of Omame where we didn't know where we're going. But to cut the long story short, the second phase of Omame, we were formalized in terms of what is required for a formal company, CIP, you know, registration and all of that, having a board, having a shareholders agreement and all of that. So we ended up having a shareholder base of about 15. Some have passed away, and, you know, may their soul rest in peace. But now, currently our shareholding, it stands at about 14 women. So Omame Investment, it's based in KZN, but we also have shareholders in other provinces. It's our dream. It's the baby that we've nurtured, you know, right from those stages where we're still crawling. We are not walking as yet, but we are not crawling anymore. So it's a multifaceted company. Maybe a smaller Bidvest. Yes, Bidvest becoming. A smaller Bidvest is multifaceted in a sense that we have a facilities management division. We've just rebranded. We're calling it Optimized Facilities Management. It's got Optimized Freshly Clean, which is our cleaning business. It's got Optimized Warehouse and Distribution, which has got the courier component. In that, we've got facilities management, which will encompass assets management and also soft services. We'll also have another division, which is called Omame Bed Shops. But it's since amalgamated with another well-known entity in KZN, Player KZN. So we are shareholders then, and together we have a component of about 9 licenses in KZN, and we have one in Mpumalanga. Big up to that. And we also have the Resilience Institute of South Africa, which is part of Omame Investments. Again, you know, after having been in business for a long time, I went back to my first love, psychology. So the Resilience Institute of South Africa, it's our corporate awareness business. It's basically our psychological services business. And there, it goes back to, you know, I'm very passionate when it comes to well-being. I do believe that positive psychology is the way to go. Not to say that there's no role for the disease model, but like I said earlier on, when you look at our biggest population, it's people who are struggling with challenges and with maybe education there, you know, just focusing on what are you good at instead of what's wrong with you. And when you understand what you're good at, and by focusing on that, you are therefore alleviating what is wrong with you. So it becomes another alternative. It is that idea of understanding that there are alternatives and we do have options. So the Resilience Institute of South Africa is based on that discipline. It's positive psychology, it's preventative, it's about being holistic, understanding the mind, the body, the soul, and your emotions, just stepping back and understanding that, and understanding what is it that is your strength, what is it that makes you good. So I love that outfit, corporate wellness. And then the last one, it's because of the nature you know, I would say business and the different industries we involve in, we can't be everywhere. So we needed to find an outfit or maybe an entity or an establishment that could help us access other sectors without necessarily dirtying our hands. So we are also part of a private equity firm in Bewe Capital Partners. And through that firm, I mean, we used to hear, we say, "Hayibo, so we did our research as well as like, how to access those deals, because by the time they hit the newspapers, it's already done. It's done. The ink has already dried. So again, is that research of understand what's out in the markets, what are alternatives, you know, and as a business, well, what is your strategy, and you know, have an investment strategy. So we do have an investment strategy, and our investment strategy is basically this: that when it comes to private equity, we will then partner with private equity firm, and in that strategy we're happy to be minorities, but in other functions we want to be majority, because that's our business. So it's our strategy that we get into those business by being minorities, but those are long-term investments. So it's almost as if we had a short-term strategy, but also a long-term strategy, which helps in a way to balance things out in terms of our overall portfolio as a business. Yeah, hasn't been easy. No, it hasn't been easy, but I take pride in the fact that, hence I'm saying that we're one of the most successful. We're still together. There are challenges, I'm not going to lie. I mean, if you put women from different backgrounds, you know, we might say that at face value there are common goals, but, you know, when it comes to decision making, then that's where you see that we don't have common goals. You might want to invest 90%, another person wants to invest 60%, you know, so that then becomes a matter of compromise that, okay, yeah. In order for us to move forward, we have to compromise. You can see I go on and on and on when I talk about Omame.
No, it's very clear.
It's a drink, Omame.
You eat and drink Omame, and of course, you know, it is your passion, and I think I am a shareholder, disclaimer, and a director of Omame Investments. So I think, Njabulo, there is maybe a group of young ladies out there that could be watching, and they have just started, or they have a dream of starting something similar in the current economy. What would be your advice? Maybe just 3 things that you would say, definitely you have to look at these things for you to be able to start, maintain, grow, and then navigate some challenges. The one thing that has helped us as Omame, we are friends. We're business partners, but we're also friends. So no matter what, we are friends.
It was a strong point, and it helps in terms of conflicts that you remember that there's a bigger relationship, you know, and shouldn't allow business to you know, overshadow those relationships. So coming back to your questions, there's a lot that I want to say, but you want me to confine it to 3 things. You know, you will remember this, because I'm going to touch to your better half. Porter. Bradon used to call to Porter a lot. I'm saying this because having been through business, you know, education, there's so many strategic tools that you're exposed to. And sometimes, you know, academics, they're always critical. There's something new, and then they criticize. And of course, there'll be gaps. And Pardon used to say, Porter, Porter. By the way, Porter is still relevant. Porter is still relevant. So for any young woman who is out there, we got into business because of BE. You know, Black Economic Empowerment. Of course, it's important. It's an enabler. It's a legislation. But I'm not BE. You know, I also don't want to be sitting around the table and be referred as BE. That's legislation. It's not me. I'm more than BE. I have certain skills and capabilities that I bring on the table. So when you're starting a business, Porter is still relevant. What do I mean by that? Study your industry. Do your market research, you know, before you can say that I want to do that business. Understand the dynamics of the market you're in. Okay, because there's competition, intense competition. Competition mustn't be a surprise, must be a deterrent as well. Understand that it's there, so that when your revenue pie is small, you understand why my revenue pie is small. Because baningi la, sonke siyawufuna lo pie. And if you make that conscious decision of even going into that industry after having done Porter, then you must know, Uguti, you know, you're not going to hit the daylights out, you know, you're not going to hit the roof, you know. You get by. Understand that there's competition in the industry that you get into. Understand that the industry that you get into are the barriers to entry high or low. You know, because we all get into industries where the barriers are low. But there's a price that you pay for that. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but no, it's in your business plan. Know that everybody can wake up and have a cleaning company. So that if you experience some challenges, you could say, hey, it's the type of industry you're in.
Yeah.
Not that you shouldn't, but it just means that
you need to know.
Extra hard for that. Know who has power in your industry. Because sometimes you say that, I mean, price for a letter 1,000. Next door could 200 rand. You don't determine the price. The market determines the price. And if you still want to be in this industry, understand the market-related prices. Because angizuza kwena uzonginikeza the same thing. Giving the same quality. And by the way, because this sibana low notion was make cheap, it's of a lower quality. Things have changed. Go cheap. And as buyers, we scrutinize all of those things. But Baba, I'm not so overpriced. I'm just making an example. Nina experience.
Yes.
Yeah, but how do you, factor in the experience? Go look who's with price yako. We factor in with quality, and it's equality yako is oshoga nalo. Angakshaya engina experience, but nge quality. Because we come in with different skills. Utol skills sake it translates into better quality than ilokuz. I'm not saying kwa manyama industry. Iyafuneka vele ilelokuza leo experience. Angasho futhi kwa manyama industries. In most industries iyafuneka lelokuza leo experience. But understand the type of industry that you're in. Goba, kuna people who are very hungry in this industry. They might say, she might have experience, but we're also innovative. You know, we are also creative. Ube stuck in the experience. So understand the industry or what it actually values. So any is your value shallow experience. I touch on the base of experience. It's just like good cleaning, but experience so clean my chemicals and I can do that.
All right. The other thing.
Okay, I know I'm going on and on and on and on. Another thing, so now that you understand your industry, so now you are in your operation, okay. So maybe you need resources, you need different partners. Your partners can make you or break you. So you need to understand the type of partners ofuna ukuba nabo in your business. And nowadays, well, I don't need partners because I can do it on my own. So if you decide to go on your own, understand abantu bozobaqasha. Because abantu abazobaqasha, it must be people abazocomplementa wena. Uyabo? Ningabe neskill esifanayo. Nonke abeze bazo complementa. So it becomes an exercise where you identify ukuthi mina where are my gaps and kulawo ma gaps ufune abantu abazo complement. But don't make it too quickly as well. Ungathi uqala nje usuqala ngabantu uyabo, stagger it. Uyabo ukuze ungayitholi nama overheads.
Right.
Yabo amaningi kakhulu. Yeah. Another thing, lawyers are important when you're getting, especially when getting partners. When you're getting partners, don't sign anything. Your shareholders agreement or JV agreement or memorandum of understanding, whatever. Without vetting it with your lawyers. And also the type of lawyers. Not every lawyer uyabo, can give you commercial advice.
Yeah.
So get commercial lawyers, you know, people who've got some sort of an understanding of the type of industry that you are in. So I think that's very critical when you getting into any business. But again, that's just maybe in terms of the factual stuff. And on the emotional side, in as far as business is concerned, resilience. I know I talk a lot about resilience, and I know it's a buzzword, but I'm just talking about having that mental capacity. So when we're doing the resilient training, we even take it a step further when we say have an anti-fragile mindset. So when you're getting into entrepreneurship, what do I mean by an anti-fragile mindset? It is that type of mindset that understands that I'm going to encounter challenges. I'm going to encounter a lot of obstacles on the way, but my mindset is going to be able to overcome that. So it's a way of cushioning yourself against whatever that you're going to experience in the industry, because you can't prevent it. We can't stop anything. The only thing that you can do is to work on your mindset. You know, so that's the type of mind that you need for, because it's not easy. It is not tough. I know that we say that a lot, but it's when you are experiencing month end and you have to pay salaries, and you feel like, okay, let me go away. You are in this business for the longest time, but you still feel that you are hand to mouth. That's the type of mindset that we're talking about. The mindset that's not going to say that. This is the end of me. I better give up because I'm failing in this. We need the type of mindset that's going to say, I'm an overcomer.
I'm an overcomer. That's the kind of mindset that you need, that you are an overcomer. Uyombheka lapha uPorter ukuthi uthini kuningi okufanele nikubheke young people, if you are wanting to consider or explore doing business as a group of people, those are the things, some of the things that you need to look at, and we encourage that, because sometimes it takes a community, you know, that collaborative spirit is important. So I guess biyeleke manje la indaba ye balance. You are a mother, you are a partner, you are a doctor, you are a CEO, you are reading for your PhD. Ihamba kanjani zonke lezi zinto?
They call it how to strike the balance. And I always say that, what's the balance? Because there's no balance. It's not a scale. You know, a scale, you put something on either side and then it creates a balance. I say, let's ask, how do you prioritize? Because if you've got too many balls in the air, definitely one is going to fall. And just be comfortable with the fact that one is going to fall. And it's not the end of the world. It happens. So it's that self-acceptance and acceptance and that self-compassion as well, to say that these things happen. You know, it's not the end of the world.
Okay.
I'm enjoying it because it talks to self-development, Zodwa.
Yeah.
It talks to self-development. On the academic side, as I indicated, it is part of my identity. I enjoy it a lot. And again, I mean, talking to young people, it's also a space for me, or a platform for me, to say that international education is doable. It is not easy. You know, I have my formula, you know, like every time when I'm overseas, when I was still studying in London and now I'm studying in Paris, I don't have lunch. Because
when I was studying in London, now I'm studying in Paris. So
that I don't have lunch. And some of my colleagues have noticed, you know, during lunchtime, I would say, during lunch. Because when I was in London, I didn't have pounds. And now in Paris, I don't have euros. And in London, there was somebody who was sponsoring my lunch. And now in Paris, there is somebody who's sponsoring my lunch as well. So those is like, extending a cool breakfast.
Let's say hotel. Right?
So okay. So yes, that's the, you know, the education part of it. And I think for me, Zodwa, there's nothing that I resent as being undermined. And I think that's my responsibility to make sure that, you know, I recognize my own self-worth by doing the things that are gonna illuminate my worth. And education is one of them. When I get to the boardroom, it mustn't about umuntu wesifazane, umuntu omnyama. It must be about the skills that we bring in. So it's also about the backing. Whatever you do, what is your backing?
What is your backing?
So I think that's what spears me forward the most. Even though kukhona lezinto ezingijagulishayo, but I always make sure that education is one of them, because that backing is always very important. That's why I spoke about intellectual humility, and sometimes I get embarrassed about maybe introduce with ufundela nala because I believe in intellectual humility. So usukushilo konke lokho. What is your backing? You know, let's say it translates, you know, into meaningful strategies that are aimed at either growing the business or maybe community or wherever you are, you know. So, and then when it comes to the role of being a partner, I think my partner, we sort of have similar interests, because Naya, he's also he's just started his doctorate in law, so it becomes easy.
Conversation.
Conversation. Now my holiday, it's not just holidays, but it's writing retreats. You know.
I bonizwe lapho abantu abasha. Niyoku ntrenda lapha nokusileya. Uhanja ma writing retreats. Yeah. So, you know, my interest becomes very important in my relationship. And of course, my dynamics are corner, but my interests, they work a lot. I think when it comes to my son, there are a lot of things that I would say I would have loved to do for him, but he's becoming his own person, you know, and I'm at a stage where I need to respect who he is. Indeed.
It's not about me anymore. So motherhood is becoming, it's giving me a different set of challenges now. It's more about accepting the person that he is. Akusekho ukuthi ilengane yami ngiyayithatha ngiyanqelisa kanjani.
Boy.
Yeah. Sefale ngiconsult. Do you want this or not? Who told you I want you to do this?
Yeah.
No, you know. Yeah, but that's not what I want. That's what you want. You know?
Yeah.
So it's got those challenges, but again, it's an important journey, because I have to realize his worth as well as an individual, and where it comes from, and what is important is being recognized for who he is, his character, everything. And I'm very grateful, you know, count your blessings. For everything that I have, I still have my parents. It's sweet gratitude. I think, I'm not sure whether it was Oprah or something once. If unga bongi, it's like having a gift that is wrapped. Because you are not recognizing that, you know, that gratitude.
They say gratitude is the greatest multiplier.
And being the recipient of a lot of things that I'm afforded to through my company, you know, I'm very grateful. But also being a receiver as well of the things that I do for other people, the things that I do for the company. So it becomes that two-way process. I'm very, you know, empathetic about where we are as a country, and as shareholders as well. So juggling all of those roles, some of the decisions may not make big sense, but they're more about empathy as well, by putting yourself in the shoes of different people and other business people who might say, you don't run a business like that.
Haven't we been through that, where kubhekwa i-bottom line kuphela kungabe kusabheka ukuthi kodwa khona ngoba abantu nje la besitila nabo. I heard you mentioning boards as well, so you actually do boards, you know, as well, uba umqondisi weinkampani ezahlukahlukene.
I love boards.
Yes.
Oh, I love boards. I think that's also, it plays into my, I'd say, not necessarily natural strengths, but I think it just plays to what I've studied. I did an executive global masters at the London School of Economics, and
right.
it just opened up, you know, just understanding about foreign direct investments and emerging markets, myself coming from an emerging market. So it helps that when you have that backing as well, the backing that I talk about, it gives you that grounding, so when you get to the boardroom, your contribution, in as much as we are seen as having a contribution in terms of refining the BEE. But I'm happy to say that in Mbeo Capital Partners, I'm the chairperson of the audit committee. And it's
amazing, right? Yeah, who would have known? Usafundisa lapaya MPT, right?
I enjoy that role because I'm not gonna always say that, you know, it's you know, being thrown into the deep end, because it's just a board of chartered accountants. You know, all of them are chartered accountants, and I had to educate myself. You know, I management, accounting, and finance, and of course my business qualifications, and it doesn't stop. It becomes an ongoing thing of continuous improvement. So I love boards for that, because they play into that. At some point I was in the board of ComA. Again, you know, a short-lived journey, because this was a listed company, and I was beginning to really refine my skills there, but I couldn't for a long time, because everybody knows what happened with COVID. So the rest is history. So I'm still in boards now, but I'm very selective in terms of the type of boards there, because you know, their response is onerous. You know, so for someone who is listening out there, the fiduciary responsibility of being in those boards, you know, and then some of them there's, you know, actual personal responsibility. So you have to be really conscious about what you're getting yourself into. So I'd really comb companies that, you know, I put my name on to say, okay, I'm available for. But it's an area where you become a representative of those women, but not only women, but also the privilege, disadvantage. You become that voice where other people might not necessarily have a voice. As people say, that there needs to be a sponsor, you know, for everyone. I may not be a sponsor for everyone, but in terms of policies that are being crafted in those boards, you are able to say. But what about this percentage of women that we have currently? Why don't we set this target, and then they can work on, you know, how best to implement it. But at a policy level, you're conscious of you are there for transformation as well, and then it's up to you to raise your voice and believe in what you are saying. So it becomes a bigger role. In terms of how best you can contribute in terms of transforming this country.
You raise your voice so that you are ahead, and it's a role that you play in terms of transforming this country. Umele omama ey'ndaweni ey'nkulu nasey'ndaweni ey'phezulu. Sesigoqa ke ntokazi yakwamaphitha, awungiphe nje izinto ey'ntathu ongafisa ukuthi mhlambe ulekelele ngazo, ikakhulukazi abantu besimame abasebasha abafuna ukufinyelela la usufinyelele khona. Ngibuka nje ijeni yakho ukuthi usuka la waya la wasuka la, so akukho kuba comfortable ukuthi I've arrived. There's always something more that is available. 3 things.
Number one, because the psychologist in me is coming out, and this is also based on my experience, limiting beliefs. I think we need to be conscious of our beliefs, because your beliefs, they determine your actions. So if you are not conscious of your beliefs, you become what they call, you have your automatic responses. You know, and it manifests itself in different ways in terms of your behaviors, in terms of your thinking as well. Wherever you are, be conscious of your beliefs. What beliefs do you have? Do you have the beliefs, I'd say, I can't do this. You know, or do you have a belief that says the world is out to get me? Do you have a belief that would say people are evil? Do you have the beliefs that I'm not good enough? So whatever belief that you have, you need to step back and ask yourself, is this belief going to help me reach to where I want to go? And if there is a gap, then you need to find an alternative belief, the type of belief that is going to help you get to where you want to. Kukhona amanye amabheliefs ngempela asilimitayo, and we may not be aware, especially as women. It's very sad. Kukhona lama beliefs yokuthi hayi mina, no, I can't. And amanye amabheliefs mhlambe you see another person achieving and then you are scared. I think also it's the way it's been socialized. We say we are so much into taking care of other people other than ourselves, and it's sometimes local leader uguti you don't accept yourself. You constantly compare yourself to other people as well, and when we born uguti angazuthi kukune shortfall and you become your own worst enemy and not really compassionate with yourself. Okay, number 2, curiosity. I believe in curiosity. Be curious about anything. And this goes back to the type of questions that you ask. Ask the why questions as well. Ask all questions. What do I want to do? And why? And how? So that fuels your curiosity. And in curiosity, there's creativity, there's innovation. If you're not curious, it's good as dead. True. Because you are in a particular comfort zone. And then last thing, which is more on the psychology side, I think I've spoken about the mindset in terms of the limiting beliefs. But I also want to talk about something Hlambe SSC ignore, influence. And sometimes the influence is, it's got bad connotations. The truth of the matter is that there's bad influence, there's also good influence. You are where you are because somebody somehow influenced you, inspired you. In a certain way, our parents inspire us. There are certain role models that inspire. Find out what type of influence you want to have, especially in the world of influencers. So, influence is the ability to inspire other people to be the best, to be their best selves. So when you get into business as well, what do you really want to influence? And you also need to influence yourself in a positive way by being compassionate with yourself. So you said 3. I know.
I know there are a whole lot more, but I have to confine it to 3 in the interest of time, mindset, curiosity, and influence. Utholakala kuphi nendawo? Your email address?
My email address is njabulo@omame.co.za.
Kodwa khona yini inkundla zokuxhumana? Singakuthola lapho. Singakuthola lapha ku-X noma ku-Instagram. Ube khona mhlawumbe sikutholayo lapha kuwena sikubona uqhakazile.
Oh my God.
Unayo the handle kodwa ke ukutholakala kwakhe akunako ubufakazi.
I think Ikhono, but angikhumbuli.
Okay, ukhona lapha as Njabulo Sithole, of course, as the Chief Executive Officer of Omame Investments, kanjalo ke futhi na kuba i-board member yeinkampani ezahlukahlukene, kodwa ke uyatholakala lapha kunjabulo@omame.co.za. Kanti uma ungamtholanga yena uyakwazi ukuxhumana nalo omlekelelayo umpume@omame.co.za. Siyabonga ntokazi. Hey. No ngiyazi leyo kuba introverted nje ukhuluma kangaka nje.
Discuss.
Igama lami uZodwa Msimangu kaNsibande. God bless Africa. Siphinde sixhumane ngesiqephu sethu esilandelayo.